Things are getting ugly, as you said it, as this legal battle intensifies. Now, both sides are accusing each other of misconduct.
When Jay-Z, one of the most influential hip-hop artists of all time, he came out swinging against the allegations, accusing attorney Tony Buzbee of extortion by seeking money before going public with false and outrageous allegations. He also demanded the accuser's identity be revealed.
Can't hide skeletons in the closet forever.
Tony Buzbee, who also represents 120 accusers against Sean Diddy Combs, filed this letter in response, accusing Jay-Z, whose real name is Sean, alleges Mr. Carter's company, Rock Nation, and his counsel have bribed my clients to file lawsuits against my firm, threatened former clients, impersonated state officials, and engaged in other behavior far beyond the pale of acceptable conduct, unquote. Buzbee is facing 2 new lawsuits, one claiming he gave a woman a venereal disease and another claiming he took 74% of a client's overall settlement.
Seems like a mess right now. And until a federal judge actually receives testimony, meaning witnesses coming to court, evidence coming out under oath, it's very hard to predict what's going to happen.
Criminal defense attorney Dimitri Gorin says both sides can make all the allegations they want, but in the end, it will come down to evidence and credibility of the parties involved.
If I'm the federal judge, evidences, let's see what the truth is.
And Dimitri says that the attorneys are using aggressive tactics to preserve the millions of dollars in legal fees. Now, Jay-Z's attorneys are obviously trying to make sure that this case is dismissed. Send it back to you.
The entertainment world is abuzz with news of a new lawsuit involving Jay-Z. Allegations made by attorney Tony Buzbee against the hip-hop mogul have ignited heated debates, media speculation, and comparisons to similar controversies. This case not only underscores the complexities of celebrity legal battles, but also draws notable parallels between Jay-Z and Diddy, both of whom have faced their share of public scrutiny and scandals. As the legal drama unfolds, it's evident that this is no ordinary case.
Raping her at an after-party for the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards when she was 13 years old. But attorney Alex Spiro says the allegations are, quote, all a fantasy. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister has the latest from New York.
Jay-Z's attorney is doubling down on a denial that his client ever raped a 13-year-old girl. Now, Jay-Z has already fiercely denied these accusations, and his legal team has already asked the court to dismiss this case entirely. But now, for the first time speaking to reporters since these accusations came out, Jay-Z's attorney, Alex Spiro, held a press conference of sorts. There was a private meeting at Jay-Z's Rock Nation offices in New York City where CNN was invited to watch a presentation put on by Jay-Z's attorney, where he had a PowerPoint where he showed different details that he says disprove Jane Doe's case. Let's take a look at some of what he said.
This is not an account of inconsistencies. I wanted everybody to understand that this never happened. This is completely false. You have to look at the timeline. You have to look at the timeline. So there's an old expression that time doesn't lie. Everything else that I'm talking about, these glaring inconsistencies, these are not minor inconsistencies. These are not minor problems with this story. This is utter falsehoods. Time never lies. And so if you look at the time, no matter what, this couldn't have happened. It's not even possible that this happened.
Now, as you heard there, Jay-Z's attorney saying that these aren't just inconsistencies.
Tony Buzbee, renowned for handling high-profile cases, has taken on the task of representing Jane Doe in her allegations against Jay-Z. Buzbee alleges that Jay-Z's team has employed intimidation tactics to silence his client and manipulate the legal process. These claims include accusations of bribing individuals to file frivolous lawsuits, impersonating officials, and attempting to pressure witnesses witnesses.
Doe's case, he's saying that the entire thing is false. In fact, he says it's not even possible that Jay-Z was there. An after party for the MTV Video Music Awards in the year 2000. Now, this after party, she said, was held at a White House that was outside of the city. Well, Jay-Z's attorney actually showed photos of Jay-Z that night at an after party, but it was in New York City. So he says, if you look at the timeline, it's not possible that Jay-Z was in the suburbs at this alleged after party because he was photographed being somewhere else. Now, in her initial complaint, Jane Doe also said that she got to this alleged after party by getting into a limo from a driver outside of the MTV VMAs who said that they worked for Sean Combs. Well, today, Jay-Z's attorney is saying that's not possible because the limousine line was barricaded by the police and fans were not able to access it. Now, I reached out to Jane Doe's attorney. His name is Tony Busby. He says that he is representing over 120 accusers of Sean Diddy Combs. This is the first accuser to come forward and name Jay-Z, but he tells me that he stands by his client. He says that they are still vetting her, but when I asked about the vetting process, here's what he told me. He said that 4 individuals at his firm interviewed the client and checked details. He says that a background check was run on Jane Doe and that his firm actually engaged a seasoned investigator to vet some details she disclosed to us, and he said, quote, those results were consistent with what the client had told us. He also says that she has signed 2 separate affidavits, and he tells me, quote, courts exist to resolve factual disputes. Our client remains adamant about her.
In addition, Busby has accused Jay-Z's legal team of exploiting procedural rules to gain an unfair advantage. He alleges they attempted to bypass the standard 21-day safe harbor provision under Rule 11, which allows parties time to address objections or amend their pleadings. Busby has firmly asserted that such a request is unprecedented and undermines the principles of fair legal proceedings.
Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages. Right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact-finding, right? Before that, just briefly, there was a demand letter sent. And a demand letter is a letter being sent by a lawyer saying, hey, I don't have to sue you. We can sit, we can mediate it. If we reach an agreement, it never sees the light of day. Jay-Z saying, I don't care about your demand letter. I look at it as blackmail. You want to sue me, sue me. You want to look at it criminally, look at it criminally, but it'll go through the fact-finding process. If a trial is necessary to determine the facts, that's what will happen, but it'll be deemed civil. No indication at this point as to whether or not any criminal investigation will ensue as a result of this.
Yeah, and Jay-Z came back incredibly forcefully against these allegations and really singled out that attorney as well for being, I'm paraphrasing here, but greedy, saying he's out to get money, and calling that letter essentially blackmail.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Jessica, also suing the attorney, saying he's intimidating. Is they send them out as a matter of protocol and practice so that you can expedite the process. At the same time, there's certain ethical standards that you have to use, and you have to have a good faith factual belief that this is true. Now, you can argue this complaint was filed in October, right? Could have mentioned Jay-Z then. You didn't. Why? It was amended now to include him. Are the factual assertions true? Are they fact or fiction? Is it a money grab or not? All of that will be litigated in a court of law, but according to Jay-Z, this never happened, is pure fiction. It is a money grab, and he's fighting for his name, reputation, and certainly innocence and justice in his view, which is he didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, and you touch on a point, too, that I wanted to ask you about, which was that this was an amendment to this already existing lawsuit. What are people to take away from that? The fact that they're coming back and adding to this now with this specific name?
Yeah, you know, Jessica, so it depends. That's also common. You could amend lawsuits, right, as a matter of course, and you do, to include certain factual allegations. The interesting thing to me in terms of your question and the takeaway, if you had this information about Jay-Z, it happened allegedly in September of 2000, why not include it in the original complaint? What happened between October and now that necessitated you putting in, and it's a question of credibility. Was he celebrity A, right, as was noted in the October complaint? Is this pure fiction? And what's interesting in the complaint is he really, that is the lawyer, tries to tie Jay-Z to Mr. Combs in so many ways, right? Birds of a feather is the argument that he's making. You can make that argument. You need the facts to sustain it. Let's see if they come up with any facts.
All right.